Hi guys, this is a very impromptu video. This is going to be a two-part video. One part will be a Catered Thanksgiving review, and the second part will be a strange sort of book haul of the books that I'm reading for December. To begin with, the Catered Thanksgiving, I don't have the book with me anymore. I had to return it to the library before Thanksgiving. I can't show you the cover, but the cover was really nice. It was of a decorated Thanksgiving table and with traditional foods and the turkey and stuff. It was really yummy. It made me hungry almost every time I looked at it. So A Catered Thanksgiving by Isis Crawford is about two sisters who run a bakery, I think it's a bakery, that they inherited from their mother, and their father still helps them. He's more there for moral support than anything. They are hired to cater this really cranky old man's Thanksgiving dinner, and none of his family likes him. And the only reason that they're going to Thanksgiving dinner is so that they won't be kicked out of his will. And when he comes into the kitchen to check on the food, the turkey explodes in his face and he dies. And at first everyone blames the two sisters because they were the only ones there. And they were really the only ones that were in the kitchen. However, because we see the world through their eyes, we know that that is not the case. So they're snowed in with a murderer and they don't know who it is, and they're stuck there in in this house with a bunker filled with fireworks and other various explosives and weaponry, with a bunch of people that seriously did not like this person, and to stop themselves from being accused of murder once the police arrive in a couple of days, they have to discover who the murderer is first and hope that he doesn't kill them. I did like the plot line. I have to say that. The story was fantastic. I mean, they're stuck in a house with a murderer and they don't know who it is, and they can't really come out and, you know, ask people some questions, otherwise they might be targeted themselves, and they barely escape with their lives in a couple of scenes. This book, I didn't like it very much. Like I said, the storyline was good. However, the rest of it, not so much. All the characters are introduced at once, and it's a little difficult to deal with. I was constantly getting who was whose brother and who was related to whom how and what their names were. I was getting it all mixed up. Once the book started going, the characters kind of developed their own personalities. It was a lot easier to keep up with it, but at first I was really confused. There were a lot of suspects in the beginning because everyone was a suspect. And it was hard for me to analyze the information and cut people out and say, okay, well, they weren't there, they were over here doing something else, so it couldn't have been them. It was really nice at the beginning. Towards the middle and the end, all dialogue became unrealistic. It was like night and day, almost like there were two different writers from the beginning of the story to the end. I did like the use of recipes and the foods. It really added a lot of detail, talking about what kind of foods that they were serving, how their business was going. It was really interesting for me, but I like food and baking a lot. I know some people hate the foodie books, but I love them. The author's writing style. At the beginning it was okay. I didn't notice anything at the beginning. I didn't have any problems. And about a third of the way through, I noticed that the language wasn't flowing properly. The author seemed to be deliberately attempting to use more clever words instead of really saying what she meant. It was jerky and it was hard for me to get through. During the arguments or fight scenes later on in the book, it was really hard for me to figure out who was talking to who, and who was arguing with who, and what they were talking about that they had mentioned previously, and who did what. It was hard for me to keep track of all of that. And I don't think that the author set it up right. I feel like she should have not had so many people trying to argue with each other at the same time. There were a lot of grammatical errors, a lot of spelling errors. It got to the point where I stopped counting. Maybe after 5 or 6 or 7 or something, I gave up. There were periods of time where you get a glimpse into the murderer's point of view, which was confusing at first, but that was okay. The author made these fumbling attempts at prose and a sort of poetic meter in the way that the character was talking to him or herself. It doesn't work with the rest of the story, and it's completely different than the rest of the writing style of the novel. And I thought, you know, the rest of the writing style was bad, but this just made it worse. I am sad to say that I probably have to give this book a 2 or a 3 out of 5 stars. There were a lot of errors and a lot of problems that I found that I could not get over, and they happened repeatedly. I don't want to give it a 3, but I feel like giving it a 2 is a little harsh. So I'm going to give it a 2.5. However, on Goodreads and other reading things, I will mark it as a 2. I round down. So I would not recommend it to pretty much anyone. If someone is interested in looking at a Thanksgiving book, not so much. It's the 2nd of December, which means I'm going to be reading holiday books, mostly Christmas. The first book that I'll be reading for December, well, the first 2 books, I'll probably be reading them at the same time. They're due pretty soon, but I don't know which one is due at the library first, because I didn't mean to make this video and I didn't research it first. So the first one is Miracle on 34th Street, which is also a popular movie. It's really popular. I've heard a lot of good and bad things about it, and I would like to make my own opinion. That's by Valentine Davies. That will probably be the first one. The second one is Holidays on Ice by David Sedaris, and it's got a bunch of, I think it's a bunch of short stories. Then I will read, I don't have the book with me, I believe it's called Santa Claus vs. the Aliens, and it's by James Cardona. I apologize if I got the name wrong, I'm really sorry. That was recommended to me and given to me by the author himself, so thank you for that. The last book, which I will be reading Christmas week, hopefully, or right after Christmas, is Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. I'm hoping to give this to myself for Christmas. That's why I'm going to read it right there, so I can open it maybe Christmas Eve or Christmas morning and start reading it then. I think that's about it for this week. I'm really tired, but I still have to study for a really big biology test tomorrow.